Have you heard that Mind, Body and Soul is back?
Yes, Mind, Body and Soul is back on Sundays at 4 p.m. only on Freedom FM, hosted by the inspiring Julie Charles. This is your go-to show for thought-provoking and uplifting conversations. Every Sunday, dive into topics that nourish your mind, body and soul, from wellness tips to personal growth to deep conversations. Julie brings you the stories that inspire change and spark reflection. Don't miss out. Tune into Mind, Body and Soul on Sundays at 4 p.m. and let Freedom FM guide you to a more balanced and inspired life. Mind, Body and Soul on Freedom FM Sundays at 4 p.m.
Wake up, worship, walk in purpose. Start your day grounded in faith with morning devotions with Serenade. Uplifting worship, powerful reflections, and encouragement to strengthen you for what lies ahead. Join us Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 a.m., right here on Freedom FM 106.5. Anointed mornings, empowered days.
Feet on the floor, but my heart looking high.
Get the Freedom FM app now. Just search Freedom FM app on Google Play or the Apple App Store and start listening today.
It's 1:36 right here in the studios of Freedom FM. It's a Tuesday afternoon, but no, we're not having Hot Topics this afternoon. Hot Topics will be back next week, Tuesday. However, today, the 9th of June, 2026, we do have a two-part show planned for you. So the first part of the program will be based on the theme, Build Your Property Tax for a Stronger Tomorrow. And then around 2 o'clock, we'll have some members of the St. Kitts Media Association speaking about all things media. So we invite you to stick and stay with us throughout the entire program. So, if you're listening via the radio or our social media platforms, YouTube and Facebook, we say thank you. Our first guests for this afternoon are already in the studios, and they are Ms. Eliza Mills from the Inland Revenue Department and Mr. Norvin Rawlins, Chief Evaluation Officer. Lady, gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to have you here to speak about all things taxes. You know, people kind of get antsy when they hear about taxes. I don't think people like taxes that much. But let's break it down and get right into it. What does Build Your Property Tax for a Stronger Tomorrow mean?
Well, as it relates to property tax, we're encouraging taxpayers this year in particular to pay your property tax, as it builds a stronger St. Kitts and Nevis, one that we are proud of. Tax. Listen, all of us have been entrusted to come to live on this, in our beautiful federation, St. Kitts and Nevis.
Yes.
We own a piece of the rock, and I think that all of our listeners who own property, who reside in our beautiful island, can attest to the fact that St. Kitts is indeed a wonderful place to be. And as such, we want to create the image in our minds that property tax is not just a legal obligation. We want to shift that, and we want our listeners, our taxpayers, to see tax, or property tax, as an investment in our future. Mm-hmm. It really is an investment, because every contribution that is made really builds a stronger community. Property tax supports the development of federation, not just for now and what is happening today, for generations to come, or children's children. Furthermore, paying property tax, as I would have said before, really builds a stronger and sustainable, wonderful, as we have grown to know, St. Kitts and Nevis.
How does property tax contribute to national development?
Well, property tax contributes to the government revenue that supports road rehabilitation and transportation and infrastructure, water improvements and expansion projects, housing initiatives and community development. It also aids and helps with the environmental protection initiatives, waste management and recycling programs, public services that support economic and national development. Now, there is something that I have observed, and sometimes something that is far-reaching. If I wanted to take a walk through our mind's eye to certain key areas in our island, right? Certain developments. I could think of one being the Old Road Bay, the other one being the Frigate Bay, where we would have had rocks. And every time that there would have been torrential downfall or rain falling, the floods would flood, the place would flood, or we would have boulders coming down. Now, this is what we are saying would happen. This is where our money is, what it helps to support development, not only just for now, we're enjoying it now, but what happens when, what would have happened as a result is that our tourists that come in gets to appreciate the product that there is, right? And as a result of that, more and more persons continue to come and our economy is built. Not only that, there is a parks and beaches unit that goes around. Listen, St. Kitts is such a clean and beautiful place. Something as simple yet profound as that contribute to nation building and our building our wonderful tourism product that we all enjoy and have come used to. So the point I'm making is that when you pay a property tax, it contributes to a stronger tomorrow.
Fantastic. So let's understand a little bit more about property valuation. Now, Mr. Rollins, what role does the valuation division play in property tax?
Well, the property valuation unit is tasked with the responsibility of valuing or computing the price or the market value of the property in order to be that, which basically contributes or gives rise to the property tax. Now, what we do is that we employ the market value approach, specifically the cost, specifically the cost approach to value property. The staff, albeit small, is responsible for ensuring that the law is applied equitably. So basically, we expect that if two low-income houses are right in the same vicinity, then the tax would basically be similar because the value derived would be similar as well. Once they are exactly identically the same, then you expect the value to be similar and also the tax.
Okay, so how is the property tax calculated? Why do some properties attract different rates?
Well, according to law, I'll answer the second question first. The government back in 2007 took the stance that residential properties would fetch a lower rate of 0.2% of the value. Basically, after you calculate the value, you basically compute the value multiplying the size of the building by 215, that's the lowest rate for most areas, to compute the value of the residential building, and then you deduct 80,000 from that value to come up with a taxable value, and from that taxable value, you multiply. The deduction is a relief given to all residential properties.
Okay.
The deduction was derived as a result of the government wanting persons with project house or low-income house and the like
Be able to afford.
correct. So at that time, it was established that the value of a low-income house could be on or around that figure. So that was the basis for the 80,000. After you deduct that 80,000, you multiply that taxable value by 0.2%, and you're able to derive the tax on the building. With land, residential land, there is no exemption. So you just take the value, multiply it by 0.2%, and you derive that value. Commercial has a higher rate, is 0.3%, and it has no deductions. And so they thought that the residential should have a lower rate, while commercial and accommodation should have a higher rate. Because these are revenue-generating properties. And so that stance and decision was taken then.
Okay. So what about accommodation, agricultural, and in...
When it comes to accommodation, that too has a 0.3% rate. Agriculture is exempt, or zero rated rather, provided that the director and the chief valuation officer is satisfied that the land that is used for agriculture is used for bona fide farming. So you can't have a backyard garden and say, well, this portion should be, you shouldn't be paying taxes. It must be bona fide commercial farming. And so from time to time, the director would write to us and say, this parcel of land is used solely for bona fide farming, and we would then enter that value, but the rate for taxation is 0%.
So what happens if I have a farm and I have a residential property on the farm as well?
Well, what we would do is take out the portion of the land that the residential building sits on and tax that portion, and the remainder of the farm, of course, would not be taxed or at 0%. This is something that we have seen. It's not very common, and we would also exclude any farmhouses or anything used strictly for agriculture. Anything else that is used outside of agriculture would be taxed.
Okay. So explain the tax rates. Explain that tax rates differ depending on the use of property. I think we already did that.
Yes.
So what is the most common misconception taxpayers have about property assessments?
Well, the most common one that I have seen since I've started working 22 years ago, is the common thing that, why should I pay property? It's actually two-part. Why should I pay property tax when I own the property? And why should I pay property tax when I'm paying the bank? Those are two questions.
And the bank owns the property.
And the bank owns the property. Those are two questions that we always hear. The first one, of course, they're saying, I own it. Why do I have to pay taxes? Now, you are the registered owner. The only way government gets money is through taxation. And as far as I could remember, the only two places in the OECS and in the Caribbean that doesn't charge property tax, I think St. Martin in the Caribbean, and also Anguilla recently done away with theirs. But in general,
Plans in St. Kitts to do
no, there's no plans. In general, you find that property tax is one of those areas that even the IMF has identified as one of those areas that could bring in increased revenue for the government amidst the reduction in revenue coming from other sources. They're asking the government to focus on property taxes. Why? Because you cannot hide a building, you cannot hide a title. You can hide your income, or try to, but you cannot in any form or fashion hide a property. So, and plus the titles are at the court, so we know what you own. The other part of it is that, why should I pay property taxes if the bank, if I have a loan from the bank? Now, when you look at your title, it does not say Scotia Bank. It says your name. Scotia Bank just puts, maybe a National Bank, whichever bank, puts a caveat on the property to restrict you from selling it because you owe them. But you are the registered proprietor. You're receiving the benefits from the government, so therefore you should pay. Now, interestingly, I have never heard that argument when it comes to vehicles. I've never heard anybody say, I own my car, why should I pay wheel tax? It's very, very strange. And you know why they pay wheel tax? We all know why. Because if they do not pay, they will receive a ticket. it's an offense. Now, we have measures to collect on property taxes, and those are something that we need to really go and enforce, such that we can collect the government's revenue to have the St. Kitts and Nevis that Eliza spoke about, and so future generations can also enjoy.
What should taxpayers do if they have concerns about their property tax?
Well, if you have concerns, our office is open 8 to 4.
What are some of the concerns that you get?
I think persons object or have concerns about their value. Or their tax rather, not the value. But once you explain how the tax was derived, they are in agreement that the value is correct based on the standards from 2007. So they can agree to that. But the tax might be a little higher than they expected, but it is based strictly on value, and you can't deny what your value is. It's actually lower than what was established in 2007 on the market. Property tax always has a value lower than the general market. So they can't deny that the value is correct. What they have an issue with is the amount, and that again is based on size and other factors.
Okay. So do people try to undervalue their property?
Well, there is no way of you undervaluing it. What we do, we basically...
Well, argue with the value.
Well, not generally, no, because they're told, of course, that the value is lower than what is deemed to be the market in 2007. Most of the persons who we talk to, the valuers, the private valuers, they would say to the taxpayer, look, go and pay it, because this value is extremely lower than what it would have been in 2007. So taxes are normally lower, a little lower than what you expect the market to be. So generally, we don't get any objections to value. I think we had one objections this year or last year, this year, so there's not much objection.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about SMART and the future of tax administration. So, Eliza, tell us about SMART and why taxpayers should register.
SMART, of course, is our new administrative system that was launched back in 2024, February of 2024. And what Inland Revenue has been doing is we have been administering all our various tax types from this particular platform. Now, to access the platform, it's on our website, it's at www.sknird.com, and we call it SMART because we believe it's sustainable, it's modern, have an administrative arm to it, and it's a revenue tax system that allows taxpayers to have one tin. Also, it has a convenient online access, and you can get real electronic documents. One of the practical advantages of registering for SMART is that taxpayers often used to ask us for proof of address, right? And in the revenues document is used as proof of address. When taxpayers register for us their account or register their SMART account, they can now receive their property tax demand notices electronically, right? This, of course, improves the services that Inland Revenue has to offer, because Inland Revenue would be able to, communicate a lot more easily with the public, and of course they have access to us 24/7. Now that makes our service a lot more faster, more efficient, and of course the interactions with the public is improved.
Okay. Bring the mic a little closer. Yes, people are reaching out saying that they're not hearing you loud enough.
All right, thank you very much.
Are the taxpayers required to activate their SMART accounts?
We are encouraging all taxpayers with properties to register for and activate their SMART account. We are encouraging all individuals, of course, to do so by visiting www.sknird.com, and this is our website, and then there are instructions on there all right? Inland Revenue as well, for persons who may not be comfortable with using electronic means, we are offering support so that individuals can register their SMARTS account. So you can go on to www.sknIRD. There are instructions there. We also have a chat bot that could help and provide instructions, and we also have videos and tutorials that will assist individuals. Apart from all this, we believe that it is our responsibility to assist individuals to be compliant, and so therefore any taxpayer can walk into the department and ask for some assistance, and we'll gladly assist.
Okay, fantastic. Now, what property tax services are available through SMARTS this year?
Now, for this year, this is the very first time SMARTS is going to be administered, or the property tax is going to be administered on SMARTS. And so the taxpayers, most taxpayers, if they would have received their demand notices already. So all taxpayers are encouraged to access that demand notice, access your accounts for those ones who would have had their property tax SMARTS account activated already. They can do that, pay seamlessly. I have reached out to some taxpayers individually, and all the taxpayers that I have interacted so far have indicated that the process is one that they appreciate. And
so you don't have to go in the long lines anymore.
No, you don't.
No, we don't have to go in the long lines anymore. All
Okay.
right? Apart from that, though, we are also saying this year, right? We recognize that some persons have grown accustomed to using quick pay. We recognize that individuals, it's going to take a longer time for persons to adopt, so that facility is still in place. However, right, what SMARTS allows you to do as well, if you have a tax, a property, it allows you to see your demand notice, as I would have said before. It allows you to object to the value that Mr. Rollins would have spoken about. It allows you to hold Inland Revenue accountable for the information you have tasked us to store. So a person can, go into their account, their entire account, and see, this particular, they can see that this value or the account, the balance is not what it ought to be, and I need to they can question it. Now, for this year in particular, we are working on migrating all of the features that I have spoken about but we have started with the demand notice. All taxpayers from right now once you have an online account, can go in and access your demand notice and also pay seamlessly online. Okay? We'll announce all the other features once they become available.
Okay. So what should property owners remember during this tax season?
The deadline. The deadline for property tax is June 30th every year. For this year, we are saying to you, use all the means that are available to pay so that you would contribute to nation building, right? They should review the demand notice. They can go on and pay, as I would have said before, or make arrangements to pay. For persons who have had or who have not yet adopted or migrated to the SMARTS portal, we're saying to you, you may use your old property tax demand notice and access quick pay, or what we're encouraging you to do as well is use all the other means that you would have traditionally used to pay, including all legal tender is accepted.
Okay.
So,
invite each guest to leave? Okay, so that's for me. So can you leave your final thoughts with our listeners?
No, of course. The Inland Revenue, we want all the taxpayers to know that we are available to serve you. Inland Revenue, we have been positioned, you have entrusted that responsibility on us, and we take that responsibility seriously. But we are depending on you to help us to build a stronger St. Kitts and Nevis. In the interim, we are saying that you can reach out to us by either walking into the department at the Bay Road, or you may stay in touch via our social media pages, which is Facebook. We have Facebook, we have YouTube, we have LinkedIn, and the handles are St. Kitts and Nevis Inland Revenue Department. For Instagram, it is Inland Revenue. And we also now have a WhatsApp channel. So you no longer have to depend on third-party information. You may directly come to Inland Revenue and get all the necessary updates that would be relevant to help you remain compliant. For WhatsApp channel, it's Inland Revenue SKN updates. That's what it is. For this year, we say the theme is pay your property tax to support a stronger tomorrow. Every property tax payment helps support infrastructure, services, development, and strengthen our federation. I encourage all property owners to activate their SMART account, review their 2026 property tax demand notice, and pay their property tax on time. Together, we can build a stronger tomorrow for our wonderful federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Okay, any final words, Mr.
Okay, for me, I just want to ask the general public to request your tax bill. This year, we have had some little issues issuing the demand notices. So I'm encouraging you to send an email, make a phone call, walk in the office and request it. This year as well, as soon as we ran the demand notices, holders of SMART's account were able to see it live and direct. They received a message to say that, your tax bill is available. And so while we try to deal with the issue or the glitches that we're dealing with in printing the bills, we're encouraging you to request a bill, to send an email, to call the property tax section, or walk in the office and request or demand a tax bill. The tax bills, if you were paying the amount that you paid last year, barring no changes to your property, remains the same. As a matter of fact, in the near future, you won't even need to walk with the bill. You can just go straight to the cashier and pay. So you don't necessarily need a bill. Once you have your name, you confirm your date of birth, the property is registered according to your TIN, and so you could basically walk in the office and go straight to the cashier in the future. But for now, you're expected to use a bill as we try to.
Okay, so I want to thank you for coming, and I want to thank the listeners for choosing to spend their afternoon with us. Now remember, build your property tax for a stronger tomorrow. Register for SMART, review your demand notice, and pay your property tax on time. What happens if you don't pay on time?
Generally, what happens is that there are consequences. There is a penalty, and there are penalty of late payment and interest. Okay, this year in particular, we're saying, yes, we understand we are in transition, and so we are encouraging all individuals to pay on time, and that's the message for today, right? We're encouraging all individuals to pay on time, and in the interest of nation building.
Okay, thank you so much for being with us. We'll take a short commercial break and we'll be right back.
1065.com.
The new Vita Malt bottle is here, and it's returnable. So don't throw it away, bring it back for cash. Return your empties to your local Carib Brewery Depot and distribution trucks in St. Kitts and Nevis. Vita Malt. Enjoy it. Return it. Let's keep St. Kitts and Nevis clean.
From St. Kitts and Nevis to the world, Freedom FM 106.5 FM.
Every day we're faced with choices to spend or to save, to delay or to stay on track. It's discipline that shapes our future because discipline means making the choice today that pays off tomorrow. Remember, discipline, choice, pays. A message from the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Have you heard that Mind, Body, and Soul is back?
Yes, Mind, Body, and Soul is back on Sundays at 4 p.m. only on Freedom FM, hosted by the inspiring Julie Charles. This is your go-to show for thought-provoking and uplifting conversations. Every Sunday, dive into topics that nourish your mind, body, and soul. From wellness tips to personal growth to deep conversations, Julie brings you the stories that inspire change and spark reflection. Don't miss out. Tune into Minds, Body, and Soul on Sundays at 4 p.m. and let Freedom FM guide you to a more balanced and inspired life. Minds, Body, and Soul on Freedom FM Sundays at 4 p.m.
Wake up, worship, walk in purpose. Start your day grounded in faith with morning devotions with Serenade. Uplifting worship, powerful reflections, and encouragement to strengthen you for what lies ahead. Join us Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 a.m., right here on Freedom FM 106.5. Anointed mornings, empowered days.
Feet on the floor, but my heart looking high.
Get the Freedom FM app now. Just search Freedom FM app on Google.
And we are back at 2:06 with the Inland Revenue Department. And guess what, guys? They want to hear from you. So if you have any questions, anything that they didn't cover, if you want to tell them you don't understand why you're supposed to pay taxes, now is your time to do so. Call in at 662-1065, 465-6474, or 465-0546. If you have any questions about smarts, anything, call in now. They are here for a short space of time. They're not here forever, and we do have guests following this segment. So call in, and we'll be happy to take your calls. We are still awaiting your calls. Again, the number to call in are the numbers to call in, are 662-1065, 465-6474, or 465-0546. So someone on our social media feed is asking, and I'm going to paraphrase. So they're basically asking if the politicians have ever had to pay property tax. So the person says, any one of them ever over the years ever pay property tax yet? Do politicians have to pay property tax?
Well, I know everyone who owns a property has to pay property taxes, and as far as I'm aware, there are a lot of the politicians who, basically pay their property taxes. We do not exempt positions. What we exempt are according to the use of the property, like churches, benevolent societies. Those are exempt, but a minister of government or a regular person is still expected to pay.
Okay, so let's take this call. We do have a caller. Good afternoon. You're live.
Good afternoon, Jamie.
Good afternoon.
To everyone that are there.
How are you?
Good afternoon.
I'm a blind person, which I've been looking out for the bills to come in. So I'm glad that I'm able to put on the radio just in time to hear you all on the radio.
So you're blind?
Yeah, I'm a blind person.
Okay.
My name is Evelyn Phillip. My address right now where I'm living here is Manchester Avenue, which is my mom's house.
You're giving everybody your business on the air? Go ahead.
Really, I really wanted to find out what is the number to call at the office.
Okay, yes. Call somebody at the office so they can deal with your case specifically. So can you give her the office number?
Okay, let me volunteer a cell phone number. It is 662 8458.
8458.
662-8458. Someone from property valuation. One of the officers from property valuation should answer, and they will be able to assist you.
Like I may got no one here to take the number for me. I'm trying to. The last 4-digit number is. I could remember.
Could you give me your number?
662, huh?
Could you give me your number?
My number is. My household number that I'm calling on is 465-2185.
Okay, I'll get someone to call you when I get back to the office, okay?
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, thank you so much, caller. And the lines are still open at 662-1065, 465-6474, or 465-0546. We are basically out of time. So if you didn't want to call now. This will be our final caller. Good afternoon, you're live.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I was working on the pit. And I was taking out some social levy. And I worked there for about 7 years. When I went to the office, they said, the program, so no money for me. But you don't buy house, you don't buy land. And if you don't want to pay, they force you to pay land tax and house tax. Right? So who the house belongs to, nothing belongs to you. Nothing belongs to the citizen. Nothing belongs to us. So you can force me to pay something where I want to pay. My house don't have money. Me don't pay for build me house. Before me pay 400,000 to build my house. I buy me land for like 20,000. I don't tell them there. I pay house and land tax. Are you still going to bring up something? For making all these laws. For keeping in these places here. When they got money from passport and waste money, they want to take money from us. We know to do all kind of things with it. What kind of nonsense they just come up with? And put all you to talk. The politician then. And them want things free. They want land. They want everything allowance for them free. They put on, they want to take away for themselves. They want to do everything free for themselves. They must get the most money. That's why some people are going politics and then got people who work with minimum wage and no politician who work with minimum wage. Non-contact. Imagine they're going to tell me not minute because it's a program. I talk to Ellen Barrow, tell me not minute, and I work 7 years. So you got the young people who work out of 10, 50, they say, well, it's over to go for 3 years and it's a program. They're just doing as they like. Politicians are doing as they like to people. We're getting handled because we are they like to, because we put them in and we supposed to take them out. Because kind of something they're telling people.
Okay,
nonsense.
We understand. Okay?
I couldn't answer man who come with.
Thank
you. When they forget about that kind of money, there's some place not paying no house and land tax when they rip off people. The children don't come pay your money. The grandchildren don't come pay your money. But nothing belongs to you.
Okay.
Nothing belongs to all the best.
Okay, thank you so much for that contribution. Lady, gentlemen, we are out of time. So at this point in time, I'll invite your response to the caller.
What I want to say is that I'm sure that caller loves St. Kitts and Nevis, regardless of his frustrations. regardless of your frustration, scholar, I hear the passion that and the fact that you have benefited from St. Kitts. You exist on the rock. And with that, I want to let you know that God has also entrusted with you a solemn responsibility. That is to take care of the St. Kitts for now and for the future. Now, in St. Kitts, most of the population we do not have an income tax. An income tax, as we know it, as we have heard of it, attracts overseas quite a large sum of persons' income. And so one of the ways that has been used over the time, where most of the populace can contribute to nation building, is the property tax regime. And so in St. Kitts, we have benefited. I'm challenging the taxpayer, that particular caller, to look at the benefits of your contribution. St. Kitts has benefited over the years, where we have evolved to a destination, to an island federation, where not only St. Kitts individuals love to thread, but anybody who comes here, both local, from local places, regional and international places, because of the investments that have been made via property tax, we can stand proud as a nation and stand and say, yes, we truly love St. Kitts. St. Kitts is being developed. Now, we may not necessarily see or have all the changes that we want to have immediately, but with time, and we have seen over time how our landscape is changing, how there is development and there is growth, and that is what we want. We want a St. Kitts and Nevis where we can sustain our programs, where we can grow and develop and continue with our national pride. If we were today to compare our services or our island with even nearby countries, I think that you'll find that St. Kitts is a gem.
Okay, just before you leave, someone says, if I am a senior, a pensioner that gets a small pension and can't afford to pay my property tax, what should I do?
Well, first of all, we offer payment plans. So while the tax is due by June the 30th, you can call the office, or if you're able to visit the office, and a collection officer can set up a payment plan over the space of 6 months or more than that for you to settle the taxes. There is no exemption from property tax for seniors in St. Kitts. And so we're asking you to pay in installments, or try to pay in installments, and we would appreciate that.
Okay, so we're out of time, and the second guest is already on the outside. So are there any final words? Can you remind the listeners as to how to reach out to the Inland Revenue Department?
Of course, Inland Revenue, we may be contacted by us 465-8485. You may also contact us via our social media pages. St. Kitts Inland Revenue Department. We have a WhatsApp channel, St. Kitts Inland Revenue, SKN update, all right? And also, you can find relevant information that is on our website, that is www.sknird at Inland Revenue. Our aim is to serve you equitably, fairly, and in a manner that develops confidence. All right, so what we have done is taken your requests, your requests to improve our administration, and so that SMART is now on stream, it's online. We have heard you, we have given you a system that allows you quick access, it's efficient, you can have real-time information about your accounts, and of course, it is available to you for your use 24/7. You need not stop, or you need not, count on anyone else to look at your, provide information about your tax account. You have it there. at your fingertips. If from anywhere of the world, you can pay your property tax. I know in the past, a lot of individuals used to depend on other persons to pay their property tax. That no longer is an issue. Or even if they choose to use that medium here, because they prefer to, they can go online, check to see if that individual would have paid. And so we're saying SMARTS allows accountability, all right, both for the inland revenue, for the taxpayer, and we're saying, please, kindly register for SMARTS. Use the SMARTS account as we have implemented this with you in mind.
Okay, we'll take a short commercial break and we'll be right back.
Thank you very much.
FreedomFM1065.com.
The new Vita Malt bottle is here, and it's returnable. So don't throw it away, bring it back for cash. Return your empties to your local Carib Brewery Depot and distribution trucks in St. Kitts and Nevis. Vita Malt. Enjoy it. Return it. Let's keep St. Kitts and Nevis clean.
From St. Kitts and Nevis to the world, Freedom FM 106.5 FM.
Every day we're faced with choices to spend or to save, to delay or to stay on track. It's discipline that shapes our future because discipline means making the choice today that pays off tomorrow. Remember, discipline, choice, pays. A message from the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Have you heard that Mind, Body and Soul is back?
Yes, Mind, Body and Soul is back on Sundays at 4 p.m. only on Freedom FM, hosted by the inspiring Julie Charles. This is your go-to show for thought-provoking and uplifting conversations. Every Sunday, dive into topics that nourish your mind, body and soul. From wellness tips to personal growth to deep conversations, Julie brings you the stories that inspire change and spark reflection. Don't miss out. Tune into Minds, Body and Soul on Sundays at 4 p.m. and let Freedom FM guide you to a more balanced and inspired life. Minds, Body and Soul on Freedom FM Sundays at 4 p.m.
Wake up, worship, walk in purpose. Start your day grounded in faith with morning devotions with Serenade. Uplifting worship, powerful reflections, and encouragement to strengthen you for what lies ahead. Join us Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 a.m., right here on Freedom FM 106.5. Anointed mornings, empowered days.
Feet on the floor, but my heart looking high.
Get the Freedom FM app now. Just search Freedom FM app on Google Play or the Apple App Store and start listening today.
Back at 2:23 And we did hope to start this interview a little bit earlier, but we're here nonetheless. And this is the second part of Issues right here on Freedom FM. We don't have many Issues programs now, so I am happy to do this program on this Tuesday afternoon. We have Mr. Andre Huey. Andre was the host. He was actually the host on Tuesdays until he abandoned us. So, Andre, welcome back.
That's a nice introduction.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me back.
So it's a pleasure to have you here, and you're here wearing the hat of president of the Media Association of St. Kitts and Nevis.
That's correct. Well, again, thanks, Jamie and Freedom, for having me again and having the Media Association here. Yeah, so we recently had executive elections for the Media Association, and yours truly was re-elected president for a third term. It was actually my final term because...
It was a unanimous vote as well,
yes, it was,
as far as I remember.
Right, and we had made some changes to our constitution, so we have term limits for the president, where someone cannot serve in 3 consecutive terms. So after this term, I might continue on the executive in another capacity or just remain a regular member. I don't know yet. So I have some time to think about that. But yes, I do have one more term to lead.
I think it's important for you to stay on the executive.
We'll see.
Just for the sake of continuity.
We'll see. But I'm sure there are other capable people as well to lead the association. So I'm looking forward to that when that time comes. But we have the exciting thing about this new term is that we have 3 new members on the executive. So the president is myself, first vice president, Mr. Glenn Bart. He also served in that capacity before from TBC Channel 40. We also have Jermaine Abel, second vice president. He served in that capacity before. He's from SKN Vibes. The secretary, we have a new secretary. I'm happy to welcome Shahira Flanders from ZIZ.
And Shahira is no stranger to Freedom FM. You guys know her well.
Yeah, exactly.
She's here quite often.
Exactly. Assistant Secretary is Tito Chapman from SKN Pulse on Nevis. So we have a division on the executive. And
that's important.
And that's
because
important.
It is the St. Kitts Nevis.
That is correct.
Media Association.
So, and we're also looking to grow our membership in Nevis. So he will certainly play an active role in that area. We also have a new treasurer in Mervan Thompson, and she's a freelancer.
And she was here at Freedom.
And she was here at Freedom before, yes. So she is now our new treasurer, and our communications director is yours truly. Well, I should say not yours truly. Sitting across from me, Jamila McPhail, doing a third term as PRO on the association. So that's our new executive. I'm happy with this new executive. I'm looking forward to working with them. We just had our first executive meeting on Sunday. And I am very excited with the outcome of that meeting because we see some new energy and new suggestions and ideas coming from especially our new executive members, and it aligns with the vision of the association. So I'm really looking forward to working with this new executive, and we're going to be hitting the ground running. So you'll be hearing more from the association. You'll be hearing more about our initiatives and our plans. Our members will be, of course, far more engaged than we have been over the past couple of terms. The past 2 terms, as you know, the Media Association restarted back in 2022 after like 15 years of dormancy. Yes. And we saw the need to get the association back up and running because there were a lot of outstanding issues and challenges facing the media and still facing the media. And I honestly believe, Jamie, that if the association had not revitalized back in 2022, we would have been faced with a much more uphill task than we are faced with now. So I think the association has made a difference since we've come on board. The challenge is that the public doesn't know a lot about what we have been doing. In fact, there are some people who don't even know that the association exists. So we're hoping now that we've spent the last 4 years building and restructuring the association. As you know, as I said earlier, we revamped our constitution and we made some changes to make it more robust.
Yes, we had reform.
And we've done a lot of groundwork in the interim. So now that we've done that, we're now looking to build on that foundation and to be more active and more progressive in the next 2 years.
Fantastic. So you mentioned some of the challenges that we have faced over the last 4 years. I think it's important to note that the work with the Media Association started even before that, because we really had many meetings trying to put the association back together, discussing what we would like that to look like and all of that, right? Yes. Formulating the constitution, all of that. So what are some of the challenges that the media fraternity and the association have faced over the last 4 years?
And I would say continue to face over the last 4 years.
Yes, continue to face.
Well, and I will say this, and this is the first time I'm saying this publicly, because I've said it numerous times in our meetings, in our general meetings, and in our executive meeting, even as recently as Sunday when we had that meeting, that as president of the association, I'm very concerned with the state of media and journalism, particularly in St. Kitts and Nevis. We've seen a lot of changes over the years. Over the past, I would say 20 years, we've seen the rise of new media, social media has come into play.
Citizen media.
Citizenship journalism, it has its pros and its cons. And that has, for some people, taken the place of traditional journalism and the traditional media. So now people look to social media for their news, as opposed to maybe looking to Freedom FM or to another traditional media outlet. They'll probably go to social media first before turning to the traditional media. And that, again, is not necessarily a bad thing. The challenge is that it is becoming increasingly more difficult for the average person, to identify or to know which media house or which platform is a real media house or which isn't. It is not difficult to start a Facebook page or Instagram page and call it news something.
Or a WhatsApp channel.
And you just slap on news name on it, and it appears to be a legitimate outlet. And as such, when you see information coming from this outlet or these outlets, you're questioning whether or not this is true. We've seen them many times, even here in St. Kitts and Nevis, where people see information circulated on WhatsApp or social media, and they run with it only to find out that it's not true, or it's inaccurate, or something is off. And the thing about it is that more and more, when as a journalist, when I see people falling for things that are not true, I find it irritating. it irks me, because not everybody is going to, like you and I, would go and try to verify if something is correct. Sometimes even to us, it happens when we see things on social media, the first inclination is to believe that it is true before we actually investigate to see if it's true or not. So it makes the work that we do as journalists even more important, but even harder, because now you're competing with competing voices from outside of the media fraternity that has a platform, that has a voice. So one of the things that we decided and we discussed as an association that we would take up the responsibility of is to educate the public on, sort of train the public, so to speak, on media literacy. But that is even more important now. How to identify an outlet that is a genuine outlet. And there are general things that you look forward to. And I think we had this discussion on another program on TV some time ago, where you see a website pop up.
How do you verify that?
How do you verify that website is legit?
Know that it's legitimate? Yeah. I think it's important for us as legitimate media hosts as well to put ourselves out there. There is a problem with social media, but I think sometimes we contribute to the problem in that we are not seen as much as we should be.
Right.
So I think it's a challenge for us to, really revamp our social media pages, because we can no longer just use them as means of, advertisement and that kind of thing.
No, it's a lot more than that.
We have to be out there. We have to utilize the media, just like the general public is doing. They're doing it, right?
Well, I'll say this much. I really do believe that, and this ties into the other problem that I'm gonna raise now, but I think media houses would have to now take a concerted effort in building or even having a separate team working on social media.
Definitely.
Because it's a life of its
Definitely.
own. In the bigger countries and the bigger media outlets that can afford to have that, they actually have a special team for social media. So you find that their social media is a lot more active.
And I remember having these conversations. I worked at another entity in the field of communications, and that was a while back. I don't remember exactly how long back, but I remember having those conversations, and at that time Facebook was, very popular. It is still popular. And we were discussing, should we be on Instagram? Should we be on TikTok? And the comment at the time was, no, that's for the little children, right? That's just like, it wasn't even TikTok at that time. I think
No,
it
TikTok
was media.
It had another name. Musically. It was
Musically.
Yeah.
And there was Snapchat as well.
Snapchat, right.
And we were like, no, that's for little children, real serious people who are dealing with these kind of things. They don't want to. But no, I'm on TikTok and I'm seeing CNN. I'm seeing CBS, I'm seeing BBC, right? So we have to kind of embrace the technology as well, otherwise we're going to be left behind.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that social media helps to drive traffic to your outlet as well.
Yes.
Back when we had SKN Newsline, that's what we did, and then we noticed a huge spike in our website visits because we were now posting our stories that link to the website on social media. So you can't get away from it. It's something that you have. So we, as media outlets, we have to find ways in which we can engage the public more through social media. Because even the younger generation, they're not necessarily going to go turn on the TV or the radio, but they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok. And oftentimes when I ask my children, when they talk about certain topical stories and I ask them, well, where did you hear that from?
TikTok.
Oh, TikTok, Instagram.
Yeah.
That's where they get the news from.
TikTok.
So we do need to engage that more aggressively. But to the other concern that I have and the challenge that I think is facing media generally is an issue of viability. And being a media entrepreneur myself, I can attest to the fact that media houses in St. Kitts and Nevis are challenged financially. Very.
Definitely.
And I don't think people even understand. Oftentimes the cry is for the media to do more, and I agree the media probably should do more. The question is, can we do more in the current structure? And I would say no, we can't. There have to be some fundamental changes and improvements from a business standpoint if the media is supposed to do more in St. Kitts and Nevis. News costs money, and it's growing more and more expensive by the day.
By the day.
Even the call for even investigative journalism and doing more investigative journalism, that costs money. And of course, if you don't have the money, then you can't hire the staff you need to hire.
Okay, I was just going to ask you that because sometimes when you say that to people, like, investigative journalism, it costs. People ask you, well, what do you mean? You're just being lazy, because what does it cost? You need staff, right? And if you
for you to do it properly, that
exactly. And if you are operating a newsroom that has one person or two people, you still have, while you're doing this investigative journalism, which takes time, you still have to put out a newscast,
of course,
every day. So you have to have the staff to do all of this, and most media houses, quite frankly, they don't have the staff.
They don't, especially in St. Kitts Nevis. I will give you a good example. Last year alone, and this is one of the reasons why, as an association, we started a consultation last year. We put a pause because of the elections. Now that is out the way, we can now resume. But we have been doing consultation with the media houses in St. Kitts and Nevis, on both islands, to get an idea as to what are some of the issues that you're faced with. And all of them are quite similar. There are financial issues. There are some doing better than others, but there are many of them who are faced with resources issue, don't have enough staff in the newsroom. None of the newsrooms in St. Kitts and Nevis are adequately staffed. When I walk into a newsroom in Jamaica, in the Gleaner, I was just at RGR Communications Group. They too have their challenges, but they're a media group, so they're able to consolidate certain things and consolidate staff. A small radio station in St. Kitts and Nevis can't do that because they're not a group. It's a standalone entity. So when they have issues with resources, they don't really have another entity to draw from. So these are some, and again, we're in a small economy, small economies of scale. There's only so much advertising dollar you can get. So media houses now have to look at creative ways to make money so that they can sustain their operations. Last year alone, without calling any name, most of the media houses in St. Kitts Nevis lost staff. People left the newsroom, left the company, and have gone to work elsewhere, out of the media. One entity would have had over 50% of their newsroom left. How are they supposed to sustain a sustainable operation if more than 50% of your new staff is gone?
At the same time.
At the same time, almost. So these are some of the challenges that we're faced with. Now, Rome wasn't built in a day, so these problems have been existing for quite some time, and it's not going to be solved overnight. But we're also not going to throw our hands up in the air and give up. So as an association, what we've decided to do, after having these consultations, I think we've more or less finished. I think we have maybe only one media house in Nevis to reach out to. We will then now create a training program for media owners and managers. With the hope of also from that training get innovative ideas in which they can apply to their organization and hopefully improve their revenues and their fortunes. So we're working together closely with the Media Institute of the Caribbean, which we're part of by virtue of being affiliated with the Association of Caribbean Media Workers. With that, now we are hoping to partner with them. They're going to be creating a training program for media owners and managers, and hopefully we'll have a full participation of all the managers and owners of media houses in St. Kitts and Nevis in that program, which will be a virtual program eventually. And then that now will be a springboard to help our members to be more sustainable. So that's one area. But even to the point of, going back to the point you made about the cost of journalism, I'll give you a good example. I've done a couple, and I'm actually working on one right now, investigative journalism project, a regional project. I did one back in 2022. It was a collaborative project. So it was me, another journalist from St. Kitts, Mr. Bard, and then we had two journalists one was from Barbados, one was from Dominica. And we were doing a regional project.
On the CBI?
CBI, yes. That's correct. And we were doing it for the Caribbean Investigative Journalism Network, which is headquartered in Jamaica. It was a series of stories, so there were other journalists that were doing some of the other countries. We were focused on St. Kitts Nevis. And it took us about 6 months to do that story. Now, no media organization in St. Kitts and Nevis, or anywhere else for that matter, has the luxury of having a journalist or a group of journalists working on one story for 6 months. Impossible. Not when you have a newscast to do, you have a newspaper to put out, you have news to publish on a website. You don't have time to have one journalist doing a story for 6 months.
You don't have staff dedicated to
for
journalism at Freedom, and this is obvious. If you are doing news, you're doing talk shows as well.
Yeah.
You're not just in a newsroom, so it's...
And there are pros and cons to that. I mean, one, it makes you all-rounder. So it means, you're a radio host, you're a talk show host, you can do other things. So you're not just one-dimensional. At the same time, it affects your ability to do everything.
You're an editor, you're everything.
Everything that you need to do.
Right? Yeah. And in many other places, for example, there are people who come up to me all the time and they're like, "Oh, you're the girl who reads news at Freedom," and I'm like, "I wish." Right? I wish it was that simple that I could just show up and have a script and just read it, and
It doesn't work
but it doesn't work like that. And in other places that happens.
Yeah.
But here you have to prepare your script. You have to read your script. You have to do interviews about whatever. You have to put all the information together, and once you have put all that information together, you still have to edit it.
Yeah. And in a lot of places,
Right?
in some places, that's not the case.
Exactly.
Like I said, I was just in Jamaica a couple months ago. I was at Radio Jamaica Group, and they have a staff to do just about everything.
Exactly,
and
I'm not complaining at all.
Like I said, it makes it all-rounded.
Exactly.
It makes it all-rounder. So
exactly.
You're more qualified.
Because I have skills that a lot of people don't have.
Exactly.
Because, you are forced to get these skills, right? But it's just the reality. It's just the reality of the situation. There are a few media houses in St. Kitts, and we are all competing for the same dollar.
Yeah, so it makes it challenging. But to the point as well, and even you use Trinidad as a good example. The Trinidad Guardian is one of the top investigative media outlets in the region, and that's because at the Guardian they actually have an investigative unit. So all they do is do investigative stories. Some of them might still work in the newsroom, but it's a group, it's a media group that they're part of, and they have a unit just for that. The Guardian in the UK also have an investigative unit. Al Jazeera, I don't know if they still have it, because someone told me that they probably disbanded it for a while because they were getting in a lot of trouble with their stories.
Yeah, but BBC.
But they also have an investigative unit. BBC has one. Panorama, yeah.
Yes.
So they have an investigative unit. So generally in those bigger countries with more resources.
And then you see these
have units.
These journalists going off for months at a time to work on a story, right?
Yeah.
How?
Well, in 2022, I was at a investigative journalism training in Trinidad, and one of the presenters was an investigative journalist from the UK. he's based all over because, you know, that's all he does. He's just an investigative journalist. He works for I forgot the name of the organization now, but it's an international investigative journalism network. He does 2 stories per year. So his focus as an investigative journalist is only to do 2 really good investigative pieces. So he has half of the year to work on one, and the other half of the year to work on the other. That's how long it takes us to do a proper investigative journalism piece. And that's all he does. So he's not encumbered with a newscast and to meeting deadlines every day. He just focuses on 2 stories a year, and he gets paid for that.
And, you know, I understand the criticism because it is valid. There is space within
Yes,
St. Kitts
I
and
agree.
Nevis for that, and we absolutely can be doing more.
Yeah.
But I don't think that people understand the restraints, right? Another issue that I am seeing is that we don't see a lot of young people lining up to become journalists, right?
Yeah.
We see people lining up to do other jobs, but we're not seeing that here.
Yeah.
And even when they enter the field, they're not staying.
Well, that's something we're hoping to try and address as well. And like I said, you know, it's not all about identifying the problems, it's also finding solutions. So with the resource issue, I already said what we're going to do where that is concerned, you know, trying to help that situation. But let's even talk about that with human resources and getting young people interested. We have actually started the process of creating media clubs in the schools. We've begun speaking, we've at least reached out to the Ministry of Education to partner with them and other schools to see how we can create media clubs in the schools. Because I think part of the problem really is not that young people are not interested in working in the media. They just don't know of the opportunities that exist in the media.
And not only that, right? You're working in the media. It seems to be like there are people who see this job as
glamorous, yeah.
Right? Or you become, I don't even want to put it like that, because I remember when I was growing up, there were people who worked on television. What was that I said? Because
that was it.
It was just that I said,
time.
right? And you looked at these people and you figured, like, you know, I could never do that. I could never be that person. Like, it was just like a chosen few. So growing up, it never entered my mind that I could be doing what I'm doing today, simply because of the nature of the job, right? When I look at, for example, you know, you look at CNN or BBC or whatever, it never dawns on you that you could end up there, right? So because of that, many young people don't aspire to that part of media work, and we wanted to expose the children, let them know, you know, this is absolutely possible.
And I think if young people are given, if in the schools they're shown the options, some of them are still deciding what they want to do, and they realize, well, you know, I could be a studio engineer at a radio station, or I could learn to operate cameras at one of the TV stations here. You know, this is a career I could pursue. They just need to be exposed to it. So hopefully with these clubs, when they're established, and I'm hoping that in the new school year we can get them up and running. We're going to start with the high schools for now, and then eventually we'll branch off to the primary schools. But with that, we're hoping that young people will develop an interest for the media. We're also going to be looking to target the tertiary institution, particularly the college, maybe to offer internships. If we can partner with the college and have some of the students who are studying digital media get opportunities to do internships. Because I've had internships for students from Jamaica. I've had 2 interns from Northern Caribbean University who would have come, and they spent 6 weeks here, and they got, you know, a wide range of experience at different media outlets here. So we could do the same as well for our students here at the college as well. So these are some of the things that we're hoping will generate interests in the media and eventually lead people to, because we do have resources challenge right now. You know, like I said, almost all the media houses, when it comes to the newsroom, they're seriously and grossly understaffed, and you can't do your work unless you have the resources.
It's a matter of the priority areas as well. I think it's not necessarily the most appealing part in the minds of many people, it's not really the most appealing part of media work. You know, a lot of people want to be DJs. They want to play at parties.
The DJs is, they're the life of the party. So.
They want to do that kind of thing. Yeah. But many people, don't necessarily gravitate towards the more serious aspect of the job. For me, it was never ever being a DJ, because that's not me, right?
Right.
That's not me, and that was never my background. But I can see that happening. It seems like more fun, more.
Yeah. Well, and yes, that is true to some extent. But I also think, again, it comes back to exposure. For me, because this year is going to be 26 years since I've been in the field of journalism, so I'm becoming like a veteran now. I'm getting old in the business.
Listen, those years just passed. Because for me, it's 15 years.
15,
and
yeah.
I'm like,
it does feel like yesterday, right? Yeah. So this year, August will be 26, and I can see over the years, especially the last 10 years, where I've had opportunities to do things and go to places that I never thought I would have been, and. Yes, the music and the entertainment aspect of media is probably more appealing, but there's a lot of, exciting moments as well in the news section. And one of the things that we want to do as part of the association is provide opportunities for people to be exposed to other things other than what they're seeing here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So, for example, we've been encouraging our members, of course, with the cooperation of their employers, that they could get opportunities to go to things like the IMF World Bank meetings, which are held twice a year in April and in October. We've had a couple media practitioners who have taken that opportunity. One of our current executive members, years ago, she had an opportunity to go on a fellowship. I forgot where it was, but it was somewhere in the U.S., and she spent a couple of weeks there getting very valuable experience. Of course, this has to be in agreement with your employer. The employer would have to agree to give you the time to go. But there are a lot of opportunities there for journalists to go on fellowships and trainings, go to other parts of the world, get experience, and learn, and also meet other journalists from other parts of the world. I've been to 2 IMF fellowships back in 2013. Very, very valuable experience. I'm hopefully might be going on one soon.
I had the opportunity. Should I say this on the air? Well, I already started, so let's go. But I had the opportunity this year to travel to Turkey for a conference.
Yep.
All expense paid.
Yep.
I never thought that, I would have the opportunity to go to Turkey to participate for work purposes. Right? Yeah. So it's amazing the doors that can be opened.
A lot of doors can
based on this profession.
In 2019 alone, I've had opportunities to go to Japan, Venezuela, Peru.
I had the opportunity to go to Venezuela.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So 3 countries in 1 year, all because of journalism. So the opportunities, and then again, you get to meet people. Last year I was in Panama for training for a project that I'm working on right now, an investigative piece that I'm working on. Never been to Panama before. I had that opportunity. So yes, while it might not be as everyday exciting like a DJ, there are opportunities that can give you a chance to go to places,
but
meet new people.
But the point that I was making about
things.
that is the resources that come into radio stations, or television. Many times people look to put those resources towards more entertainment content, right? And because they just figure that that is more appealing to the listeners and the viewers and that kind of thing. And for me, it's necessary to have a mix, and that is what I look at when looking at content.
Yeah.
For us.
And especially when, again, and this is the other thing too that's also important, is that while people are getting their information from social media and elsewhere, they will still come back to the main source. They will still come back to a freedom to verify the information.
Well, how y'all ain't have this?
Right.
So if you did not have value, they would never come back to you to cuss you, to tell you, well, why you don't have this.
They come in to check to make sure that it's true.
Yeah, and many times people don't even understand the process, because not me, but people would be able to put out stories without doing the necessary verification, We don't have that luxury, and we don't really want that luxury either.
And not only that, because people look to you as the authoritative source.
Exactly.
You have to ensure they get it right.
You have to. And there have been times, I remember one time recently, a story broke. And without getting into detail, the authorities were like, yes, this is true, but we're asking you to hold off until maybe midday, because it was a matter of national security. You have to be responsible as well, right? And you have to use that professional judgment to know, listen, and everything you just put out there for the sake of putting out there. I saw on the BBC this morning that there was an attack in Belgrave, and people had videotaped the attack. It was a knife attack. And they were asking people, the authorities were asking people not to circulate the video. And if you were there or you have access, send all the information that you have to the police. And, somebody said, but, why are they asking people not to do that? Because you're tainting the investigation. Yeah. And everything you just put out there like that.
There are certain things that you have to be responsible with. And again, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is the difference between mainstream media and, social media or citizen journalism or journalists, as opposed to, trained journalists. You have a responsibility. You're governed by a different standard. Freedom FM and all the major networks here in St. Kitts and Nevis are governed by a different standard. So if we do something that is against the law, while somebody might get away with it if they post it on their social media or whatever, or some other platform does it, the established entities don't have that luxury. They're governed by a different standard. Because if you get it wrong, you lose trust and credibility. A platform out there that just publishes press releases or whatever, they can do it and get away with it.
And some of these platforms, they don't even try to get advertising dollar. They're just there for the sake of being there, popularity, political gain, those kinds of things, right? So it's not important for them to operate within the perimeters that are independent. But Andre, can we take a few calls, because we only have 5 minutes left.
No problem.
And I know that we can speak all afternoon, but I want, to interact with the callers a little bit. So the numbers to call in are 662-1065, 465-6474, or 465-0546. And we already have a caller. Good afternoon. You're live. Can you turn down your radio, please?
I already did.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pemberton. How are you?
I am doing great, and you?
I am doing well.
I wouldn't have missed this for the world, and I am cognizant of the fact that we only have 5 minutes. But this is an almost forgotten voice with pleasurable association. To me, Jamie,
yes,
these are the words of a favorite tune, almost faded with time. You've been gone much too long from among us, Andre Huey. Welcome back, however briefly, Mr. President.
Well, we're trying to get him back more often,
I want to let him know from the heart, Mr. President, you are both respected and loved. I'm quite pleased that you were given a second vote of confidence based on performance as president.
Well, it was the third, no? Third vote of confidence.
The third.
Yes.
Well, that makes me even more pleased to hear that the committee saw fit to change the Constitution, because let's face it, and you said it this afternoon too, most people, they stay on much too long, erroneously thinking themselves indispensable, to which I always say the graveyard is filled with indispensable people, all of whom have been replaced. Jamie here provides or furnishes ample proof. Jamie, you are universally loved
2. Good afternoon to both of you. I am over here smiling so wide I could bite wax out of my own ears. Now let me wind down. I'm so happy. Welcome back. I wanted to ask you a few questions. I've had a bad connection. If you haven't answered any of them, touch on it briefly, please. I wanted to ask you from the standpoint of the presidency, what do you think about the state of the media in the Federation relative to access to information, integrity of reporting, truth must be respected, relationship with the community, and if you score with flying colors on all of these, name me one area that you see is in need of improvement, and how do you propose to do so? Now, the media training I have to slip in here in school, man, that's where it should begin. And it shows incredible vision. Now, by the time they graduate starting there, with that type of experience under their belt, imagine their grasp. Can you imagine the grasp they would have of their craft, since repetition enhances proficiency, which invariably gives rise to confidence, and that will bring poise and, yes, polish, something that two of you exude copiously. Kudos, I came by saying you were loved and respected, and I'm going to leave by reiterating much the same. Best of luck on the way ahead, Mr. President. We love you. Good afternoon. Take care of yourself. Happy to hear you again. And Jamie, I am concurring with you. Do you have a petition?
Yes, yes. We'll create one. We'll create it, okay?
Somebody else want to talk. Good afternoon, folks.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pemberton.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pemberton. Thank you very much for your kind words. To the question...
Andre, can we take one more call?
Yes, take one more call, and then we'll try and answer the question.
So we'll take this call on our Facebook, on our WhatsApp line. Good afternoon, you're live. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me good?
Yes, we're hearing you. You're hearing him, right?
Yes, I
okay,
am.
Good. This is for Mr. Huey. Is it normal for the press secretary to the Prime Minister to dictate who comes to his press conference?
Okay. Yeah, do you have another question, or that's the only one for now?
You see, and I have another question, but I'm going to sum it up with what I'm going to say.
Okay.
This is exactly where the problem lies. By asking if there's another question. Because this is exactly what they does. They tell you all to ask two questions.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to answer the question. I just wanted to know if you had another one, so I could just tabulate that one as well.
My point is, can the press secretary dictate who comes to the press conference? Especially your members. And number two, I think you could answer this right now. Are you a certified journalist?
A certified journalist. Okay, let me answer the first question first. Let me answer the first one. Yes and no. The press secretary of the Prime Minister, anyone who calls a press conference, essentially can dictate who comes to the press conference. In this case, you have two events. You have a press conference, the Prime Minister's press conference, and you have the round table. They are two different things. The round table, from what we are made to understand based on what has been coming from the Prime Minister's office, is for journalists from established registered outlets. So Freedom FM, Win FM, etc. And in that case, they usually would ask, because they have limited space, they would ask who would be attending, or reach out to the association to submit names of persons. We would reach out to everybody, see who's available to attend, because again, we know of the shortage of staff, and so that everybody can't come, every time a round table is called. But we will make submissions, and then they will determine, okay, etc., these persons can come. We've only had one instance where we did submit a name, and the press secretary would have indicated that it's only for persons from the established media houses. However, for the Prime Minister's press conference, which is more open, just about anybody who works in a media house can attend. So if you are a freelancer, if you have a blog or whatever it is, you can attend. We've seen in the past where people who are not even media workers asking questions at a Prime Minister's press conference. So for the press conference, just about anybody can attend. For the round table, they have certain ground rules where that is concerned. So that's my answer to the first question.
Okay. And the second question, let me polish it up. How does one become a journalist?
Well, you can become a journalist through whatever means. For example, if there is a vacancy and a media house puts out a vacancy, you apply, you go for the interview. Based on your experience or credentials and whatever it is that the employer is looking for, if you have what they're looking for, and you don't necessarily need a university degree or diploma in media, if you have certain experiences that, because there are people who I've worked with who, prior to coming to work where we worked, they didn't have any media experience or any formal qualification, but they came, they learned the profession, some of them stayed and excelled, others moved on to something else. So it's a different requirement based on where you go to work.
So is it fair to say there's a journalist and there's a reporter?
No, you're absolutely correct. There's a difference between a journalist and a reporter.
That's exactly what I wanted to get.
Yeah, there's a difference between there is.
I've seen people walk around with their phone and say there's journalists, and I have a problem with that.
Yeah, no, it's not the same. You're correct.
I know of 2 journalists in St. Kitts, and I think you is one, and Mr. Bat, and there's another young lady who used to work at ZAZ. But yet you hear people say they are journalists.
Yes, you're correct.
I mean, if you is a doctor and you walk into a restaurant and you hear a guy telling a girl, hey, look, I'm a doctor, and you is a doctor, what would you do?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to protect your identity, I mean, especially you say, hey, look, he ain't a doctor.
Yeah.
And that's the point I wanted to make.
Yes. Well,
so it's not everybody who walks with a phone is a journalist. They are reporters. They could report. Anybody could be a reporter.
Anybody can report. Yeah, you're correct. Yes, you're correct.
Okay,
you're correct.
you.
Thank you for your call, and that's a very good distinction, Jamie. I don't think I could have said it any better.
It's a different job.
Yeah, a reporter reports. The Prime Minister said this, such and such said that. Journalists, on the other hand, is more of a critical, takes a critical approach to a story. So it's not just reporting what somebody said; it's also delving into the depths of the story and uncovering other layers that you probably would have overlooked. So yeah, he's correct. Anybody can be a reporter, but not everybody can be a journalist.
Okay. So, Andre, we're out of time. It's 3:06. Are there any final words that you would like to leave with our listeners this afternoon? I feel like we need to do more.
We probably need to do another one. Yeah.
Sessions.
Well, as I said before, we are going to be more outgoing. You'll be hearing more from the Media Association. Maybe not necessarily me. Yes, I'm the president, but I'm not always the one that I have to speak. We have a very qualified executive that can represent the association well. But we will be making more efforts to engage the public, and you'll be hearing about it in not the distant future. We have a Facebook page, so you can check it out. It's MASKN, which stands for Media Association of St. Kitts Nevis. So MASKN, you can visit that Facebook page. You'll see the logo for the association. And we want to be able to engage more of the public so that we can serve the public better. Yes, we have limitations in the media here in St. Kitts and Nevis, but it's not an excuse to not try and improve. And so we hope that as a professional development organization that we can help to uplift the standard of media and journalism in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us this afternoon, and we want to have you back.
Yep,
not just
anytime.
with the Media Association, but we want to have you right back in this chair right here on Freedom FM.
I'll consider it.
We're going to talk and see how we can make that happen. But to the listeners, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, choosing really to spend your afternoon with us. Without you, we won't be able to do these programs. Coming up next on Freedom FM, we have Islands Rhythms, hosted by EK.
The new Vita Malt bottle is here, and it's returnable. So don't throw it away, bring it back for cash. Return your empties to your local Carib Brewery Depot and distribution trucks in St. Kitts and Nevis.